Very good evening to everybody, and thanks for clicking on to today's European Outlook. It is the new working week. It is Monday, and we have got a lot of things going on. Over the course of the weekend, I had the live stream at 7 p.m. on Saturday evening, and also the final tropical video of 2025. So I'll leave a link in the description below for those couple of videos that were recorded over the course of the weekend. Obviously, we had some pretty devastating scenes coming out of Monmouth in Wales. We seen some of the worst conditions across this part of the world. Parts of Shropshire, Herefordshire, many areas were hard hit over the course of the weekend due to Claudia and its frontal system bumped up against the Arctic air, that block of cold air to the north. And it just rained and it rained and it rained over the course of the weekend. And this, unfortunately, was the result of that in and around the Monmouth area during the course of, I think, particularly Saturday. But this kind of, I don't know, I could be wrong here. And I'm going to look at this in a bit more detail probably through the course of the week. But there's something that kind of makes me think this resembles November of 2009, albeit not as extreme, it has to be said. Also, the synoptics were different because we had this conveyor belt, an atmospheric river situation that connected the Caribbean with Cumbria, but we had a frontal system that had stalled out. Obviously, you get some of the worst flooding events in the UK when you've got these stalled boundaries situated over a given area. Then you add in orographic influences as well, and you just get this extreme rainfall. But this was the Cockermouth flood of November 19th, 2009. We've seen it in 2015 as well, as this piece here shows. But it's a bit ironic here. Cockermouth, Monmouth. Is there something about the mouth end to the words? I don't know. But what's interesting about this is, albeit November of 2009 didn't turn particularly cold, we did see that in 2010, it has to be said, but these months were unusually mild, but also unusually warm, and they were preceded by significant spells of winter weather into the month of December in particular. And when you've got this Julian oscillation that is, entering the prime region for, here it is here. We're in 6. It's doing its very best to try and get into phase 7, but there's a struggle there because we've got cold waters within the equatorial Pacific in the phase 7 area. Phase 7, phase 8 region of the Pacific is colder than average, but we've got warm waters further north. But when you've got this in combination with what's going on within the stratosphere, it's kind of building this idea of the potential of some significant cold down the road. Not so much November, but into the month of December in particular. I'm very interested to see how this is all going to play out. There's comparisons to 2000 and this is an interesting tweet here by Shryan Bruin showing that they've seen a lot of mention of late 2000 as an analogue to this year. No year is the same, as he rightly says. And it's up to others whether it's a worthy analogue comparison to 2025. However, December 2000 was not without interest. The Christmas and New Year week of 2000 was very cold and wintry, and I said this back in the live stream back on Saturday evening that, without bringing everybody down here, my brother passed away at the end of, early November 1999, early 1999 in November, he passed away, and I spent the Christmas period with my grandparents over in Northern Ireland, and I remember that very vividly. Deep snow, very cold temperatures across a broad area of the UK, and this is an interesting visible satellite image showing the snow from north coast to south coast around the Christmas week of 2000, and there is some interesting similarities in sea surface temperature anomalies, the rotation from warm to cold phases, the MJO. This was the setup here around about the 24th through the 31st of December 2000. You can see here the strong block to the north, and the models are hinting at that for further down the road, given the evidence of the MJO, that negative IOD combined with East QPO and also the La Nina situation here. It doesn't guarantee that it's going to happen, but there is plenty of fundamental backing to support that idea. But just a couple of thoughts, to start off today's video. I'm going to look into this in more detail. But we do have a colder air coming down. This is the current visible satellite as the sun is setting. It wasn't overly cold over the weekend. We had below freezing temperatures. Daytime with sunshine, temperatures responded quite nicely. So it's not an exceptionally cold air mass by any stretch. We don't have snow on the ground, for example, as well. And this time of the year, when you've got the sun, you've not got snow cover, the ground is relatively warm still, so therefore the temperatures respond. Generally quite a pleasant day across the bulk of the UK, it has to be said. If we zoom in, you can see here that anywhere from South Highland down to the south coast and beyond was actually largely sunny. So pleasant day out there compared to what we've seen over the course of the weekend. And yet temperatures are considerably down on what they have been. So currently, with sunshine as the sun sets, temperatures are going to drop off very quickly here during the overnight period tonight here. Over the next few hours, we're going to see these temperatures coming down with the clear skies over England and Wales. But this is a very big difference compared to what we had back at the end of last week when we've seen temperatures knocking the door of 19 Celsius in the southeast. We're only talking anywhere from 5 to about 8 Celsius widely across the bulk of the UK here as a whole. We're down close to zero at Loch Liscarnock. We've got the Maneer site just up the road, 4 Celsius at Tain, 4 Celsius at Aviemore as well here. Looking at the temperature anomalies then off the GFS model here. These weather charts, by the way, are a bit disappointing. They're very slow. You can see here temperatures firmly below average throughout the course of this working week. Is it going to blow this? It's not really. There we go here. So look at that there. Quite a difference. And if we look at the current temperatures across Europe, we're starting to see that cold reservoir build over Scandinavia, as you would expect with this type of setup here, with high pressure up towards Greenland and extending down to the west of the UK and Ireland. We've got lower pressure to the east. We've got that direct shot of Arctic air across the UK. That's going to reinforce, by the way. It's going to get interesting over the next couple of days. So you're talking about temperatures down into the minus 20s in parts of Finland, mid-teens below freezing across parts of northern Norway, much of Sweden really here as well. So a cold night to come, but you can see here the temperatures here. This is as of Tuesday, Thursday and the Friday, in fact. Skip back slightly. Yeah, it's pretty slow. We do see a gradual recovery towards the weekend, it has to be said. But if we look at this graphic here, this is off the GFS, this is off Tropical Tidbits. I wanted to put in the thickness values here because this is what's of note here, of particular interest. Those thickness values, once you get down to about 528 thickness, that is representative of something a little bit more wintry, even down to lower levels. So what we've got is we've got this northerly airflow at the moment here, generally rain down at low levels, a mix at mid-high ground, and then you get into higher terrain. It's firmly as snow. You notice here as we move into the course of tomorrow, we have a little feature riding that northerly and northwesterly airflow. That then runs southwards, and actually pulls the 516 thickness value in behind this system. It quickly drops down from the northwest and then exits off the east coast of England. Then it kind of reinforces that Arctic air into the UK and Ireland, and generally that remains the case as we move through the course of this week. Then we get a little bump in the isobars here. Now, if we've got snow cover, clear skies, light winds and cold air in place, that could represent the opportunity of some double digits below freezing in the prime locations, northern England, interior South Scotland, where you're tucked away from the hills and then into the Highland region as well. And then you notice here that we start to see westerlies come back into play towards Friday of this working week. Now, if we put on the 850 anomalies here of the model, you can see here, skip back, and this was obviously the setup that they delivered all the exceptional rainfall with the milder to the south, colder to the north. This is the 850 or 5,000 foot level temperature anomaly compared to average. And we have this cold shock coming down. Then we get this little, you can see a little temporary milder air associated with that feature running south. Then you've got the kind of purple colours here coming down. That is a reinforcing shot of cool air. So behind that feature that runs from northwest to southeast, it's behind that you've got actually colder air than what we've already got in place. And that's going to deliver the opportunity for not only snow, but also colder days and colder nights as a consequence. Look at how it drops into France and Iberia as well. If we look at we'll look at the temperatures in just a second here. But if we look at the 5-day increments, this is the upcoming 5 days of the GFS ensemble, so firmly below average across, a good chunk of the continent, has to be said. The day 6 through 10 is still below average, albeit a little bit less cold compared to what we've got in the front running 5 days, and then day 11. So that's interesting here. So while we've got this expectation of westerly winds coming in, it's still showing below average, and sometimes you can have milder air coming in the mid levels, but actually still cold down at the surface. That's something that needs to get taken into consideration. And then the 11 to 15 day takes us into the beginning of December. We moderate things quite a bit, but I wanted to show you this here of the Met Office model. This is snow projection. You can see here that we've got obviously northerly winds. They're generally, many places are protected from that northerly wind, so it's generally quite a clear air mass, nice and clean. Any kind of snow tends to fall in the high terrain of northern UK. I've always noticed when I lived down in Kirkintilloch, just north of Glasgow, northerly wind, you can see snow over the Highlands to the north, but the Campsie Fells, the South Highlands, tends to, any moisture is non-existent by the time it reaches the central belt. It's always further north. We tend to get, actually up here in Ross-shire, we tend to get snow on a northerly wind compared to points further south. But look at this here, as we move through the course of Tuesday, as that feature runs south, we're starting to see the snow increase here, particularly so over higher ground, but not exclusively. So quite a decent coverage of snow showing up in the model here through the middle week period. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much snow we can get even into the North York Moors, for example, the North Pennines, southeast portions of Scotland over higher ground, and then over the north as well, picking up on snow. In terms of the temperatures then, this is how it's looking. So if we go back to the course of tonight, where you've got the clear skies, where you've got the light winds, you're going to go below freezing unless you're right on the coast. Through the course of tomorrow, you can see here temperatures struggling, low single figures quite widely in Northern England northwards here, maybe mid single figures, upper single figures the further south you go. This is 15Z. Well, this is today, in fact. Sorry, I do apologise. I'm getting the days mixed up. Then obviously as the darkness sets in, the temperatures drop pretty quickly. Remember, we've got cold Arctic air in place at this minute in time. But I wanted to draw your attention, once that feature drops south and that high tries to kind of build in during the second half of this week, I'm particularly interested in how cold the temperatures get. This is into Wednesday morning here, so you can see here widely well below the freezing mark. We've already had -7, coldest of autumn so far at the Tulloch Bridge during the course of the weekend. And I expect, look at this here, into Thursday, widespread harsh frost quite widely. This isn't unusual, by the way, it has to be said, for this time of the year. But so I wanted to make sure and point that out. But look at this here, by Friday morning, starting to see temperatures in the double figures below freezing. So cold with an increased chance of snow Tuesday into Wednesday, particularly over high ground to the north, not so much further south. And yeah, we've got this run of cold weather on the backside of what has been a record warm start to the month of November. But lots more discussion on December, the polar vortex, trying to not repeat the same thing day in and day out. And check out the live stream back on Saturday. Discuss that in a little bit more detail as well in the tropical recap of the season just about to end at the end of this month as well. So plenty of reason to stick around, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with more. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.